Get ready. Hold tight.
Hold on to your hats, boys.
Libas.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
Just what the flipping Nora are you lot doing?
I'm still in there. I'm still right behind him.
It was just a very well thought out tactical plan by Danny.
I want to go.
I can literally feel the steam coming out your ears.
So it's like a fun little post-game snack.
For Wednesday Week.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week, a very special episode indeed. I'm Dan Fudge, and I'm here all by myself. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about something else. If you've come here for analysis of Hull City game, it's not going to happen this evening. This week has been an eventful one. After what seemed like a normal day at the races for what are now a mid-table club with a draw away at Cardiff, who knew that the disappointment of not taking all 3 points would be an emotion that most of us would long for, given the week that's followed. First, we had an announcement that the players hadn't been paid, something that we were told was an error on behalf of the companies that the chairman was owed money by. Speculation was rife that this could be a play to maximise interest funds over the financial year as it comes to an end. Others feared the worst, as Depon Chansiri essentially ran out of money. Whereas further down the line, some of the more sceptical members of the Sheffield Wednesday fraternity saw this as once again being let down by our chairman. This was then followed by the news of potential ramifications of such an endeavour. Rumours of a 3-transfer window embargo surfaced online, and this was confounded by a 1-0 defeat at home to Hull City, where they scored a last-gasp winner in what was a flat game with a flat atmosphere. Overshadowed by events that were off the pitch, this prompted a number of supporters, groups to band together to release a statement, formally asking the chairman to sell up. Tonight, joining me is a number of representatives from those groups and local journalists to talk about the intentions, the current state of affairs, and of course, the next steps. My role here is simply just to report the news, not be the news. I'm here to bring balance and conversation to the table. I'm a very respectful Dan Fudge this evening. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I've just realised the terrible timing of me saying that out loud. So without further ado, let's get our first guest on this evening. It's Ian. Ian is part of the, I nearly said Entourage project there because I've been calling it EP the entire time. Ian, you and I have been on TV together back in the days. So tell us who you are and what your role is here.
Right, so I'm the chair of the Supporters Trust, and we also sit very recently being got back onto the EP, the engagement panel with the club. So basically, our role has changed dramatically this week as a trust. We've gone from what was seen to be a talking shop, and for middle-aged guys, I think, yeah, which I hope I'm not seen as, although I am, yeah. And we're trying to be active now. What we've done, I think, I hope, as a trust, as we've got back on the engagement panel, is mobilise the rest of the guys who are the fans groups on there, come out as one, making statements as one. And I think, for me, it's been a fantastic thing. It's really energised everybody. And off we run, the protests, whatever you want to call them, the statements. The trust are really motoring along now. We've been in contact with the EFL, we've been in contact with the FSA, and obviously the situation at the club now, for me, is untenable for the chairman. Yep.
So tell us about the emergency meeting. There was a lot of chat online straight after the meeting of people saying, well, the club weren't even there. They weren't invited, were they?
I think very much originally, the idea is there is a representative from the club, who sits on the engagement panel. Mm-hmm. When the invites go out, I would imagine that he gets one automatically. I would think that he turned it down fairly early, so he were never going to be there. That's how it panned out anyway, yeah. So we got everybody else there, I think. Yeah, 14, I think there was there eventually.
I think unprecedented is the word. That many people all singing from the same song sheet. That's not too bad. So in terms of the statement that went out. I've got a copy of it here. Everybody put out the same statement. So it said, I'll smash through it in my best showbiz voice. In light of recent announcements regarding delayed payments to Sheffield Wednesday staff and players, want to inform our members that an emergency meeting of the SWFC Supporters Engagement Panel was held last night. This unprecedented gathering brought together major supporters groups to discuss a unified approach to the situation. Together, we have submitted formal correspondence to the club's chairman. We've requested clarity on circumstances surrounding the current situation, future safeguards, and alternative arrangements if the financial challenges cannot be adequately resolved. We have also requested a meeting with senior club representatives at the earliest convenience. And then it was us talking as a podcast. We remain committed to advocating for transparency while supporting our club, players and staff during this difficult time. We stand in solidarity with all those affected by this situation. At this time, we call for unity and respect among all supporters. While concerns of valid, divisions within our fan base will only weaken our collective voice. We're all Wednesday. Fairly powerful statement if you read between the lines, and it's kind of asking for a response. How do you feel it went down?
In the end, as the stronger statements came out, I think Dan, it very well. I think it was an absolute achievement to get that from all the people there. I'm hoping it's my charm and charisma that did it, but I don't think it was. Yeah, but I was really surprised at the positivity that came from that meeting and the way that everybody wanted to put something out as a joint statement. I think that was received fairly well. I don't think it was as strong as it should have been, but then you've got to satisfy 14 different people to get anything out at that time were fabulous. And I thought it showed a unity that we've never seen ever before.
Appreciate it. Well, I tell you what, so personally speaking for yourself, you personally, what was the straw that broke the camel's back to get you, to make you go, where were you on the DC out spectrum, as it were? Like some people have just stepped foot onto it. Some people have been in there for years. Some people have been in there a couple of years, that type of thing. So what was it for you? What was the big red flag for you?
For me, it's never been personal with the chairman. Never been personal at all. It's been the way the club's been run, and obviously he's at the helm of that. I think there's several factors that could be took into account. I think he's been badly advised in the past. I don't think the people around him are strong enough. I think there's a language barrier and the cultural barrier and the way that businesses run in different countries. In the end, I think because of all the, I'm going to call them shenanigans, but all the things that have gone off at the club, it's just built up to a point where I personally, again, want to emphasise I ain't got anything personal, but I thought his tenure was untenable. That's it. Yeah. And obviously the players not getting paid, and more importantly, in my opinion, the staff not getting paid, although they did at the end of the week. As you and me know, we pay his mortgage every week. Yeah. Every month, sorry. If those guys haven't got money in the bank when the mortgage comes out, what happens? People live to the means, and they're not on a king's ransom when they work in there. I think that for me was a tipping point as well.
Absolutely. So where do we go from here now then? So let's say the club don't get in touch. Do you think they will? And what if they don't?
I genuinely don't. I think I made this point on Radio Sheffield early in the week. The sound of silence seems to be what comes out of the ground at the Hillsborough. I think they're in the staff are in an untenable position. The guys who are his right-hand men are getting so much garbage that it's untrue. And although no particular love for them, I think it's awful that they've got to put up with that and they've been left and hung out to dry. Don't think the club will get in touch. I think the next moves for us are, as I alluded to earlier, we're talking to the EFL, we're talking to FSA, and all the governing bodies. Obviously, we're getting the MPs on board. The letters have gone out. We're talking to everybody. We're trying to pull as one with fan groups and trying to see where we go. Obviously, you'll have heard, and we all hear rumours. There's people in the background. We've got people saying that there's the possibility of the takeover. We've all had whispers. The way I understand it, there's several people around, but there has been no bid for the club yet. That's what I understand. And I think that's the official line. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Chansiri has changed his tone slightly, and I really do think he wants out now. Yeah. And is it surprising, basically? I mean, the guy's thrown an obscene amount of money at it. It's just gone wrong, hasn't it? And people forget that. Now we're all turning. I said Messiah to Pariah the other day. I think if we'd have gone up in 2016 or 2017, it'd have been the Messiah, right? He threw his money at it. It's all gone wrong. The sale of the ground, the lack of infrastructure, the lack of everything else, we can all get into that. And that all built up to the point where basically, personally, I'd had enough to your answer to your question.
Fair enough. It looks like you're looking at bigger things. So finally from yourself then, Ian, does Chansiri have a redemption arc? Does he have a way back with anybody, or are you kind of just like, it is what it is now?
I think that the statement, it is what it is, I think it's over, and it has been for a while. I think now, I just don't think there's any way back. We've given him the hand of friendship. We've tried to talk to him. We've offered him help. We've asked him for a business plan, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. How's he going to structure it? How's he going to fund it? Please be open with him. He doesn't have to give us any financial information as long as there's a plan there he can work to. It's not come out. We've asked him if he wants us to write a plan. I don't know if you're aware, but there's lots of really intelligent people, unlike me, on the trust. Yeah. There's lots of people with irrelevant qualifications. There's lots of people who know football inside out. We've got contacts everywhere. And I think they should have been utilised, to be honest, instead of him getting, and he has been, I think, took advantage of by other people. We're all Wednesday fans. We can all hope in his own way. Yeah, there'll be stupid comments made. Yeah, but there's so many people that could have helped him. The hand was held out to him. He didn't take it. I think that's another nail in his coffin, if you like. Yep.
Fair enough. Ian, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I wish you all the best going forward, sir.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for letting us on, mate. Cheers.
My pleasure. See you later. So there you have it. That was Ian, the chairman of the EP. We've had a few comments coming in. We've had what's this shit? Where's everybody else? That's a great start. We've also had the club will likely ignore its own engagement panel, which is quite frankly frightening. And Jay Bloggs has gone with a fool and his money are easily parted. So next up, we're going to get a different side of it, and he's joining us all the way from another continent and/or country. It's Joe. I don't need to introduce you, Joe, do I?
But maybe you should, because it's a bit weird otherwise.
So, Joe, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, let's not do that. I take it
all
back.
Right, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, listen, Joe, Alex has been in the news, painted a bit of a dim view of the ramifications of what would happen if we didn't pay the bill on time today. What was your first thoughts about it? Because did you feel like it was a power play? Did you feel like he didn't feel like it didn't really matter? Did you feel like it was an oversight? You know, where do you sit on that?
I think it's very difficult to say with this stuff, because there's only one man who really knows what's going on. We've seen situations before where people, it's been spoken about money that's owed, and if it doesn't happen, X will happen, and then it was paid. So I think originally that was how we all expected to go. But I'll be honest, as the days went by and we got closer and closer to Monday, I started to worry that it was a genuine, there was an actual problem, and I don't think I was the only one in that sense. There was a growing concern that Wednesday might end up in this three window transfer ban. And look, the long and short of it now is that we are 1 day away from that ban. So any default between now and I think the end of June, Wednesday will find themselves with a 3 window transfer ban, which would be a catastrophic situation to be in. But Wednesday have been left with absolutely no wiggle room whatsoever.
No, none at all. Now you've become a very popular guest on our show here. We've got the man, the myth, the legend. Women love him, men want to be him. Viva Joe Crann. And then we've also had Joe had a glow up since he moved away. I think you'll find Joe's been glowing up for a couple of years now. You know what I mean? It's not good for my self-esteem to share this screen with you. Do you feel there's actually a desire to sell from DC now? Ian touched upon it just prior there.
It's really, really, and this is not me sitting on the fence with it, because it does, and this is just, I suppose, the way I feel about it. It does feel like something is a little bit different now to how it's been in the past. That's just, like I say, that the feeling that I get about it all. The chairman will never say that he's going to sell. You know, I think that we've seen that every time he's been asked. Alex,
he'll get lowball. It'll be business suicide, right? To say, hey, I want shut of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, look, he spoke in the interview that Alex did with him about, you know, if someone came in with mega bucks, then it'd be something that he considered. But I think as in everything in business, everything is always for sale at the right price. And I think if the person wants to come in and say, we'll give you what you want, it might happen. But whether that is even on the cards or not, I don't know. Look, there is interest. Everyone knows there is interest in Sheffield Wednesday. There is always going to be interest in Sheffield Wednesday because, you know, as has been rightly pointed out, they are one of the last, and I hate the sort of cliche, cheesy term, sleeping giants, but they are one of the last that is available, if that makes sense. So I think Wednesday are always going to be of interest in that sense. But we are in a situation where we've no idea what it would take in order for that to be accepted, in order for it to even be entertained, really. And I think, you know, it's been really interesting for me, and it's been great to see the coming together of everybody, of the fans, and, you know, this enough is enough idea, or I suppose campaign that started now, and seeing everybody on the same page. It's just a really, and I think Ian was saying it there, it does feel like we've had that straw that's broken the camel's back from a fan perspective now, and I'm not sure there's any coming back from this one.
It was fairly aggressive in a very diplomatic way, the statement. Do you feel it should have happened a while ago, or do you feel like this was the one, this was the flashpoint, the non-payment of wages? Because we had the HMRC nonsense, we've had relegation, we've had losses to the Blades. You know what I mean? Like, there just seems to be something different. There seems to be something palpable about this time round, about this unrest.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what it is. I don't know what is. I mean, well, I know what it is that's happened.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what it is that's made it feel different this time. But I think it's easy to say it should have been done earlier, because, you know, everyone will always say, "Oh, well, why didn't we do something before?" But I think that's looking at it wrong, because what we need to do is focus on the positives that have come on the back of this, and seeing the togetherness and the unity that's been formed on the back of it, and hopefully some good can come from it. You know, I think it's a long road. You know, all of this is going to be a long road. We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know where this road sort of takes us. But there is absolutely no way that a united Sheffield Wednesday fan base is worse than one that isn't united. So I think that, yeah, it's easy to say, yes, we should have done this before, and fans should have done this before. But, you know, everyone's involved. It's a lot of putting together. It's a lot of people involved, and getting that many people on the same page is hard.
Yeah, you're putting your days out with your mates at jeopardy. You're putting your seat you've had for 20 years at jeopardy. Your away days. You're putting that under some kind of scrutiny, and what you're asking, what you're trying to get people to do. You know, you had the 1867 group trying to get people mobilized. It was a big fight, and I respect him in a way to try that fight, to give that a go. It's a lot of work. And I think what I've realized is, putting this show together tonight, talking to some of the guys from the EP and things like that, we're just fans. We don't really have a dog in the fight, in any clout, really. You know what I mean? So let's make a bigger monster altogether rather than lots of little monsters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's the only way you're going to get anywhere. I mean, look, no one's to say that you will get anywhere. We don't know what's going to happen next, but you are definitely better as a big beast rather than a few little ones. And I think that, you know, what's going to be fascinating now is to see how this plays out now the wages have been paid, because you know, obviously I wasn't there, unfortunately, but like there did feel like a sense of apathy at Hillsborough the other day. There wasn't the anger, the toxicity that a lot of people expected. And I think that is ultimately, it shows the difference between real life and the internet. I think that's one thing that it does point out. But I do think the other thing that's going to be, like I say, going to be fascinating now is to see how this develops, because it's now been paid. So the problem goes away, and if the immediate problem
down the road a little bit, doesn't it?
Kicked it down the road is exactly what it is. So to see whether the desire to keep pushing is still there is going to be really, really interesting for me. And Wednesday are in a dangerous position now, because you've got 3 months effectively to make sure there's nothing going wrong. And look, we all know that 3 months is a very short period of time in Sheffield Wednesday.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, as today Southampton have dismissed Ivan Juric, I can't let you on without asking you about it. I'm sorry, Joe. Is there any truth to that? Have you heard anything? Has the grapevine been rattled, or has everybody just put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4.5?
Yeah, I think I'm no businessman. The idea that if what you're talking about is the fact that effectively Danny Will going to Southampton has funded Sheffield Wednesday paying the wages, the idea that would be that quick is mind-boggling. Look, obviously the Danny Will rumours are going nowhere. The fact that they have they've announced that they've got an interim for the end of the season, which suggests that they're not rushing into anything right now. That pours fuel on the fire as well. So this ain't going to go anywhere. And I think that Danny's comments after the whole game, it felt very. Thanks very much for the memories, didn't it? Not to say that it is.
I didn't like it.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I know that this is or isn't happening. I have nothing concrete saying that Danny Will is gone, that he's going.
I'd say, Joe, if we run the internet right now, I'd be scrolling the comments to you saying that, of people going, "Why don't you report some bloody news? What's the matter here?"
Yeah,
and then you coming back with, "If there's news to report, I'll report it." Cheers. You know what I mean?
At least you know how it works, mate. You've seen it. You've seen it enough time. I've got it saved on my notes. Just copy and paste it in.
Just copy and paste. I've got a couple more for you. Look, you've had bits and pieces with the chairman, and do you feel like the constant abuse he gets from all sorts of different directions? Like, we've had a comment from our John who goes on the show saying the back and forth on LinkedIn shows how unprofessional and farcical the situation's become. He gets absolute pelters from all sorts of different directions. Do you feel that that's, given the type of personality that this man is, do you feel like that's had a negative impact rather than the desired one? Because he's a little bit less fiery.
I don't think when you have an owner of a football club, and let's be honest, if we're being frank, so much of it's gone over the line. There has been so much said at various different points, whether it's been personally insulting to the chairman, as a human being, whether it's been about his family, his kids, all of that is so far over the line. And every time something like that happens, there is no doubt that it's hurt the relationship, hurt the situation, and the back and forths. They don't help. And it's one thing going to somebody. The way I see it is, you can't send someone an abusive message and then when they reply, go in, "Oh, that's unprofessional." It's like, what? That's not if that happened in the street and you went and called someone names and then they called you names back, you wouldn't go, "Oh, well, it's very unprofessional of you." Like, I do think there's an element of like the internet being the internet, and all of this, the stuff that is not constructive, the stuff that is purely abusive, that is purely insults. None of that is ever going to help the situation or help mend anything.
No, not at all. Now, lastly, Joe, just a quick one. There's even been a rumour of a bidder from Africa. Have you heard anything? Has anything come in, or did somebody just make that up on the interwebs?
I'm not sure if you know, but Africa's quite a big continent.
Just Africa. You know what I mean? Just you're in there.
I think.
You're in the whole country. You know what I mean? I thought you might have.
I've heard nothing about any African links. But hopefully, if that is the case, it'll be on the phone to me because I'm closer by.
Yeah, because you're in Africa. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Famous easy to get around.
That's it. Famously easy. That's it. Listen, thanks a lot for joining us, man. You're an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next guest. Cheers, Joe. See you later.
Cheers, Dan. All the best.
My pleasure. Okay, so we've had a few more comments coming in. We've got Sharman said Chansiri will cash in on Danny just to spite us. And my mum's been on. My mum's watching. She says Saturday at Hillsborough was awful. Not one fan I spoke to had anything good to say. Everyone was peed off. So thanks, Mum. Thanks for watching. I think that's the first time she's watched me in about 15 years on this show. So listen, let's move on to the next guest. We've got Adam. Adam, I'm gonna ask you to unmute. So I appreciate you sitting in the background like a work call, and then at the end of it go, no, nothing from me. I really like it. That was all right.
I've had far too much experience of doing that.
Adam, listen, welcome to the show, brother. Tell us who you are and why you're here, and tell me who you are and what you do.
So I'm Adam Eccles, and I'm here as the representative for Armed Forces Owls. For those of you unaware, myself and a colleague, Adam Thompson, who works in the Army, set us up in 2022, and we've been running since then. We do charity events, we've raised money for Essex Food Bank, we've done football events on Saturdays for veterans. It's basically a mental health gathering, I suppose, for people who've gone through similar strife, just for us all to be able to meet up on match days or externally from that, and just be around people who are like-minded.
So you've gone on record a couple of times. I remember Remembrance Day being a point of chagrin with you fellas as well. In terms, you've gone on record with your frustrations with the chairman. Were you done already by Remembrance Day last year back in November, or was that the straw that broke the camel's back for you, or was it this time round with the later on there was HMRC and then there's the non-payment of players? Where was it for you?
For me, I don't want to speak for all of the guys in our group. For me personally, it was long before that. Yeah. I think the amount of fiscal irresponsibility that's been on show for quite a few years has been astonishing. I'm not too surprised that it's been allowed to go on for as long as it has, because there are far worse clubs in far worse positions than we are. Reading are currently in that position. We could be down that line in the not too distant future. Bolton got very close.
The boys that are Reading.
No, they're a fantastic business model to follow. Do you not remember? It's been a long time coming for me. I think whether it's his decisions or representatives of the club that eventually get some good things put through, a couple of things do come through where you're like, oh, actually, maybe you never know. There might be some change on the horizon. And then 3 weeks later, you're slapped with players haven't been paid, or, some next controversy. It's not good. I think there's far greater options out there. And I think sometimes a lot of the fan frustration with protests and fear of antagonizing the club is because there's always the worry about what could be worse. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there always could be worse in that regard, but you'll never know what's better if you don't see it. So
exactly that. So after so long, there was 14, Ian mentioned at the top of the show, 14 different fan outlets together, all unified in their message. Is that something you wanted before? Are you genuinely are you happy this has happened now?
Massively so, yeah. I'm not wanting to throw Ian under the bus at all here, because he is quite new to the group, but I heard him mention something earlier that I do want to set straight on the record. Club representatives were not invited to that meeting. So we hold engagement panel meetings with the club it's meant to be a regular basis, but unfortunately the chairman's not always in the country. It can be hard to get meetings organised because we need a majority of people there. But we have internal meetings before that, usually, to try and discuss points of topic, to try and see what we're going to discuss with the club when we see them, so it's not a waste of time. Now,
right, okay.
Unfortunately, it can end up being a bit of a waste of time because you can only ask 3 questions, and Chansiri likes to talk a lot and doesn't shut up. But on this occasion, the club weren't invited, and it was an opportunity for us to discuss what was going on. This wasn't the club ignoring us. This wasn't the club, for all the stuff that they've done wrong, this wasn't one of them.
I appreciate you putting a pin in that. I mean, to be fair to Ian, he did say this is probably what happened. And it could have happened. He's
new to the engagement panel process because the trusts have only just come back. I'm really glad that they've come back. It's good that we've got that voice on there. I do agree with one of Ian's points in the fact that I don't want him to take this as a big thing, blowing smoke up his ass. But the arrival of the trust has really coincided with quite a few of the quieter people in the engagement panel, sometimes being a little bit more open now because there's another big voice there who's saying stuff that some people are probably a bit scared to say, I don't want to say. But yeah, the fact that all of us have been united has been fantastic. There's always going to be disagreements with how things go forward, especially in a group full of so many different types of people. But there's been a small group of us for a long time who've, I don't want to say been agitators in the group, but we've always been asking that extra question that I think the arrival of the trust has brought out. And there are now really good feelings, really good vibes in the group. I know that sounds really tragic, really good vibes, but genuinely, like, it's hard to be positive in a time like this, but I think a lot of us now are. That not that we see a light at the end of the tunnel, because we're far from that, but the fact that we are now all standing shoulder to shoulder, we all want the same thing. I think even the people who were a bit on the fence, not liking Chancery by any means, but concerned about the possibility of what was, could be worse, like I said. But the women's group, North Yorkshire Owls, one of your own colleagues, we really have now. Everyone stood up and gone, this is enough. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to see what we can do.
That's great news. I wanted to do this show because I know it's difficult to try. Look, the seveners that do this podcast, and we all have varying different ages, different experiences, and different views on where we sit and who we are and what we believe in and what we don't and what's important to us and what's not. You have a whole supporters group around you. I've got 6 other people that, you know what I mean? Did you have much grumbling in the ranks of trying to get this together, or was there a palpable difference for you to go, actually, it seems like we're all in the same sort of space right now?
Not to throw my own guys under the bus, but sometimes I think it's probably a good thing that I'm the representative when I talk, because some of them are still quite military mentality, and the fact that they will speak first, think of consequence later. Yeah, I think I'm quite tepid compared to some of them.
Let me make a note of that, Adam. Army fella might be a bit gobby up front. Yeah, I'll remember that moving forward. Yeah.
No, but the military does teach you to be strong-headed. It teaches you to think for yourself in a lot of ways, and quite a lot of people have been fed up of it for a long time. But there's always been that element of, like I said, a bit of a fear of what could be worse. But I think, like I said, now everyone in the group. So the moment it came up, the trust we're in, this is what we're thinking of doing. I sent it to the lads in the group chat. What do you want us to do? Is every single person who replied, yeah, absolutely, let's get it moving. And like I said, the big thing for me was the support from the other groups. We've been Chancery out for a while, I will admit, but the other groups, like I said, the women's group were massive for it. They wrote the statement. North Yorkshire Owls are really big for it. Your colleague Ash, he was absolutely in for it. It's brilliant. It's got such a good feeling about it. And I genuinely think if there is ever a time that we could get something to change, it's now. And all I'd say is the fans that are in the background, the fans that see stuff going on, I can understand your frustrations with what's gone on for the EP for a while, because I've not been able to make as many meetings as I probably should, because I've been away with the military. I've been in transition into Civvy Street with jobs. It's been quite difficult. And I promise you, we've tried a lot of stuff that really hasn't worked out, but winds are changing. All right. We are trying.
I tell you what, I can see there's genuine passion there, Adam. And look, I tell you what, because we're short of time, what I'll do, let's you and I have a proper chat in the summer. Let's do an Armed Forces Owls special. Let's have a proper chat, find out where we are as a club, and what the plans are for the coming year and all the rest of it. What do you say? Yeah, I'm absolutely down for that, mate. I think your podcast is doing a great job. Appreciate it, Adam. It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot, mate. See you later. Cheers, man. Cheers, boss. Okay, so it's that time where I normally say something cut in about people trying to sell you some things. Brace yourself. Some people are gonna try and sell you some things. Given the serious nature of what I've tried to achieve this evening, I really wish I'd changed that tonight. That's really put a cat quite amongst the pigeons. Listen, big thanks so far to Joe, Adam, and Ian from the EP. But we're going to go in a different direction. She's blessed her. She's been waiting backstage an entire evening. We've had her on the podcast a couple of times before. It's Bethany. Bethany, are you all right? How you been?
I'm good. That advert breaks really tickled me, so I'm trying not to get the giggles before I talk about
I really wish I'd changed it just to something that said adverts. But even then, I'd have found that really funny. So, Bethany, tell us. I want you to put a different hat on at this moment in time. What you put your WSG hat on, and give us a brief intro. And well, do you know what? No, I'm not going to give you a brief intro because I feel like we know all about what the work you're doing because you shout about it so well. You know what I mean? I feel like you do such a great job. So what I don't want to do is have you, it's some middle-aged man way demand going, what the bloody hell do you do? You're up there with all the rest of them. You're at the table. Let's talk about the hard things. What about that, Bethany? So being one of the new kids on the block in terms of fan group, did you expect to be part of anything like this when you started?
Yes and no, and I think an answer to a lot of these questions for us is yes and no. The supporters group obviously founded with a kind of core message and mission statement to improve support and communities and safety for women in football, but we have an understanding of how those issues intersect with things like good fan governance, good sustainability, clubs that have enough money, clubs that are happy. I mean, quite explicitly, we've seen links between things like bad results and bad things happening for Sheffield Wednesday and increases in reports and behaviour like that. So there's that really explicit link, but there's also, I just guess, the idea that our kind of mission is easier when we're at a club that functions well. So yes and no, we have always had it in the back of our heads that this is something we have to care about and we want to care about, but yeah, here we are.
Here we are again. So do you feel like there was any hesitancy to get involved in something like this? Because there's an element of, a few of the guys who spoke this season have talked about talk some people round essentially, or try and change the language somewhat and things like that. Did you have any of that?
Again, yes and no. We kind of understand that working with a football club is very important to what we do. Again, if we have to work on things like reports or safety, it's really imperative that we have that kind of two-way communication with the football club. But I guess our kind of fan and supporter and kind of internal women supporters group networks have been really important in that. We've got all of our decisions kind of backed up by our working group and our membership. So being able to keep them up to speed and get feedback regarding kind of like where we should go with these issues and how we should act on them has been really, really important when something is like so dynamic and changing so quickly. But with them kind of having a good kind of trustworthy group of core members that we can be like, right, this is how it's changed. This is what's happening. Where do you want the women's group to go with this? And how do you want us to support you guys in these things? That has been, I guess, our backing really, and that's informed how we've moved forward with this.
Fair enough. So did you personally feel like you had to concede a lot? Because like trying to manage a group of people that are giving up their time for free, I find a nightmare. I've been doing this podcast for 15 years now. And you kind of want to go, hey, in future, guys, can we do this? When really you want to say, just do it because I said it. You know what I mean? But obviously, it's a different environment being in a collective, right? Mm-hmm. So, did you feel you had to concede a lot of values or anything like that, or did you feel that everybody was aligned in the same way?
Not particularly. If anything, we would kind of trying to be like, no, let's keep this the diplomatic route. It's been really important to us throughout this that we want to keep this as kind of diplomatic and professional, I guess, from our side as possible. Mm-hmm. And kind of navigate in a way that we want to. I think that can be quite frustrating. I totally understand the optics of it when these things develop really quickly and therefore people, I guess, expect really quick responses. But I think we've kind of done it the best way we can of staying measured, kind of just being like, let's make sure we can think about this. I think before we speak.
I tell you what, measured and balanced is two words that I never want to hear again in my goddamn life. It's all I keep saying, especially when everybody wants to scream and shout. And I want to go, let's be angry at the right things. But some people are too far past that now. They want to absolutely kick off on all sorts. But I feel that measured and balanced is what has been achieved with the message that came out. So I tell you what. Sorry, a bit of windy pops. My apologies. The club have done a lot for your organisation. They've done a lot for a few organisations. Now, we spoke to Adam there from the Armed Forces Isle and stuff like that. Did you feel like this kind of was it a difficult place to navigate? Because there are some wonderful people at that club. Like, so for example, Ash is halfway through his project on the Wednesday week Easter egg drop. Something he did last year. It was hyper successful, and he's doing it this year. And I tell you what, giving Ash a load of chocolate like that, I find dangerous. But he seems to do it. He seems to really enjoy it. I don't know what it is, but there were some great people at that club. And did you feel like it's a bit of a minefield to try and navigate that, where you're kind of trying to say, "Hey, it's not you, it's him," or do you understand the question there?
No, absolutely, yeah. No, I totally get it, and I think it has been difficult to navigate at times. Obviously, when we have to work closely with people and do have really good working relationships with people at the club, it is quite hard to sometimes be like, no, I'm on about the guy behind you, not you. But we're grateful for that support. Again, I think we can navigate in a way where we can still be nice to these guys and say what we want. We were founded as, and will remain forever, an independent organisation from the club, and it's important to us that we have that distance as an independent supporters group in instances like this, so we can have that kind of critical distance and we can say things like this when we need to. It's just most important to this, obviously, because we care about the people at the club and we have good working relationships with them. That makes it all the more important to be civil, respectful, level-headed where possible, because that's our style. That's how I'd want an issue to be brought to me. So
that's exactly how I wanted this show to come across, and that's how I always want this show to come across: balanced, measured, respectful, and listen to everybody's point of view and listen to their own stories. It's I don't work for anybody. You know what I mean? Well, I do, but that job's crap. But listen, so these sort of statements here. So I'm gonna put a comment on screen now, Beth, that says it's interesting to hear everyone's opinions from the various groups and see their passion and togetherness. It's a refreshing, and that comes from Mad Ward, and he's a Larry sod in our comments when he gets going. So is that it for you guys, or do you feel like things could change under DC's stewardship, as it were?
I mean, we may remain committed to this stance that we've taken now. I don't think the payment of the wages, kind of changes that. It's becoming a pattern, and it's quite a worrying one. We're still in a very kind of precarious situation given the June 30th deadline, and if anything happens again, then we're staring back down the barrel of the gun of another 3-window embargo. I think it's been made kind of abundantly clear in the last 6 months to a year that there is no sustainability here, and it's just going to keep coming around quicker every time. So
moribund. I think the term is moribund. I was looking up that word. So finally for you then, Beth, I pretty much feel like I know the answer to this, but is he off the hook with you now he's paid up?
No. I think I've probably answered that in the last question, but no. I think it's important now that we keep the pressure on in the right way and continue working together, because it has made me quite emotional at times over the last few days to have everyone kind of pushing in the same direction.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I mean, I'm talking to people that I've not really previously spoken to. It's really easy in an environment that I've got myself in to just try and keep this tight, neat little circle who tell me nice things. You know what I mean? That go, hey, I don't think you're much of a gobby prick as what you thought. Oh, cheers, pal. You can be my friend now online. You know what I mean? There's an element of that, especially when you're in Twitter as well, because you hear that phrase where you go, I've seen loads of tweets of people saying they're never gonna Hillsborough again. It could have been 4. But it's 4 within the last minute that you've scrolled. So you go, well, that must be gospel then. That must be exactly what it is. I tell you what, let's have a look at some comments, shall we, Beth? We've got Gary's been on. Dan, I'm very surprised TalkSport haven't discussed this Ray Young hates Simon Jordan yet. They haven't, actually. They've not brought that up. Simon Jordan going wibble, wobble, wibbly in Video's position. Someone does need to speak about that on a bigger scale. John Wakefield has gone with, I hope tonight helps to show the people that have been critical of the EP over the years that there are lots of good people giving up their time just trying to make measured decisions. John, I love that. I kind of want to put that on a t-shirt. That's absolutely stunning. But that's the message, Beth, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it hasn't always functioned optimally for various reasons.
Optimal
but if it takes unfortunately, I guess, a pretty dour situation like this to make it function, I'm just glad it's happened because we're a stronger club.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. I'm going to read these to you and then I'll let you go, Beth. So we've got Rachel Bond. She said, love it, Beth. A couple of kisses there for you. Izzy Nick's been on, who I was on the beers with at Cardiff. And she said, fully behind everything you've said, Beth. Listen, I will see you another time on this show with a different hat on where you can come in and be a gobby cow on the internet. What about that?
It's a deal. Let's do it.
All right, Bethany. Thanks a lot. See you later.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Right then, so I've got one more guest who's been on the show before, and he operates a medium similar to this. And well, I'll let him tell you all about it. It's Terry Hibberd. How's it going, Terry? All right?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad, not so bad. I'm just looking through some of these comments, and it's been really cool. So, for example, here we've got Adam's been on. He says, to be fair, he's got all the fan base in all agreement for the first time. That's the best thing that Chancery's actually achieved, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fair point.
But and then Neon Brown's been on, and he said it's a great point that when people find unison like this, they're all doing it for no. It really shows the strength of the both feeling and the determination. And Beth's getting some more love from Sharman there as well. Terry, welcome back, brother. Are you all right? We've got the glorious position of nobody waiting in line behind us, so we can natter away till 9 o'clock. So
sound.
Just like I said to Beth, I know you've been one of the panelists on the show before, but can you put your different hat on and tell me what it is you do? Tell me about Owls Online. What is it?
It's an online forum. We've been around for quite some time. I've been involved in it for, 20 years almost now, from when the internet became a thing, I think.
You'll be up for parole soon, Terry.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah, and we've gone through various guises, and Sky were involved in that at one point, and we fell through the floor at one point because they pulled the plug, but we're still here. And it's very different to what it was now, Dan. I mean, I'm the one that drives the X channel primarily. Nobody else does it anymore, and I think the difficulty for me is with a forum. Obviously, people have their own voice, and I don't come across as the voice of the forum. I don't see that as my the
facilitator
place
of conversation is the way I like to look at myself, Terry. So I assume you're the same, yes?
That's it. People have their own opinions, and I know, you look around the internet. It's interesting, as you just said to Beth then, about 4 people saying something, and it's of that opinion. And I've seen a few recently about our forum, which actually made me laugh because there are some vociferous people on there, and they have very, very strong views. Sometimes probably I know they go over the line. But that's certainly not my view. I let other people have their say. But just listening to everybody else, everybody, I think most people now are singing from the same hymn sheet. And I don't think necessarily that, I got the sense that people weren't not really singing from the same hymn sheet. It was just how they were singing.
Yeah.
More than anything, we were singing.
Hell of a catchphrase, that, Terry. Have you practiced that? That was all right.
No, I haven't. That was definitely off the top of my bald head. But now, this, I think it's almost like become the straw that's brought the camel's back recently. We all sort of wondered what might come next. And it's just, again, I just found myself sort of chuckling when the announcement came out Friday night that the bills are not going to be paid, and instantly, I think yourself said it, Dan, as well, that get ready, come Monday, the bills are going to get paid, and
he'll pull it out.
And sure as damn it, it's happened again. But I think I've said it before, and I certainly said it online, that people make mistakes, and I think we can all accept that people make mistakes. Even in football, people can make mistakes. However, when you're making the same one over and over and over and not learning from it, sorry, but it's just not going to wash. It's just not going to wash.
Fair enough. You're in a unique position, like I am, like I said at the start. Have you got a personal opinion on how it should play out, where you are with the chairman and things like that? Because, a lot of people have asked me where I stand on it, and I think change needs to happen. And I feel like the EP and all the rest of it that's happening right now, there's the definite movement there, and it's a movement that is, what's the word, comfortable for me. You know what I mean? I'll go, okay, yeah, that is a movement I can get behind. Now, no disrespect to Jim and Rob, and I did try to get them on the show, but calendars didn't align. I just wasn't in that space yet to start chucking the tennis balls, and some were, and please don't think that that's a dig at those guys. I just wasn't there yet. You know what I mean? It's like being in a relationship and someone drops the L-bomb first, and you're like, I think you're all right, but I'm not there yet. It's kind of like that. I don't know about you. Were you in a similar sort of place?
100%, 100%. And I think the other thing as well, again, you talk about how people perceive things online, and if you weren't with one, you were against them. But even though that wasn't necessarily the case, but that became sort of a narrative that was built around these things.
It wasn't the case. They kind of had it bestowed on them a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah, that's exactly. At the end of the day, Rob, Jim, and everybody else, that's involved. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. They want the best for the football club. We just all go about how we express that feeling just differently, and that's just the way it is. And then because then it just descended into this. Oh, I'm more of a fan than you. I'm more invested than what you are. That's not fair. That's not fair. And so yeah, we're very much like you. But I think now, yeah, we are all on the same page. I do think that people generally want to change anyway. But again, as you've mentioned to previous guests, that it was about people worrying about what could it be worse, what comes next. There was no plan going forward, etc. And people were sort of, they were almost like a subplot around that, as beyond the worries about what comes next. But now, yeah, as I said, it's just you look everywhere, and it is now everywhere online. It is, be it on forums, be it on social media, be it everywhere. Yeah, people want change now because we just can't see a way forward. As I said, we lurch from one door that's got disaster behind it, that closes, and then another one opens and disaster's behind that, and then that closes. When's it coming again? Because that's all I'm expecting as things are right now. When's that brown stuff finding the fan?
Exactly right. The brown stuff. When's that finding the fun? Have you? I tell you what, like you were talking then about things such as looking behind one door and looking behind the other, and all we're seeing is just shit behind each door. Every now and again, we get thrown something: a comeback against Peterborough, a playoff final win, things like that. And now we're like 10th in the league, so that sometimes we're winning, and sometimes we're doing really well, and we've got this great manager. And every now and again, we get a little nugget, we get a little palate cleanser, as it were, just to go, hey, all that shit and that last. Yeah, getting a moose-boosh of success, and we go, oh, I forgot all about that. And to be fair, the 1867 lads were going, all we need to do is win at the weekend, and then you lot will forget about us. And to be fair, there's some validity around that. So, in your capacity as this moderator online, I know I struggle sometimes with it. Is like on one hand you've got genuine concerns, and on the other hand you've got people that just got mug on because we've lost to the Blades, or yeah, you know what I mean. And you're like, hang on, what's whinging and what's a genuine concern? Because my timeline's an absolute shit show. Is yours the same?
Yeah, it is. It can be an absolute nightmare. I try and sort of sit myself somewhere in the middle so far that I've got bloody splinters where they shouldn't be. It's really difficult. But again, as I said, people have opinions, and they're entitled to their opinions. Whether they pay to watch an iFollow, whether they pay to go in the ground, or whether they're not going to go until the chairman changes, or whatever the circumstances, we're all Sheffield Wednesday fans, and we all have a voice. And I think within reason, everybody has a right to be heard. I mean, you were talking about the engagement panel, and I was one of the people in the original one. Yeah, and I must admit, I'm now on the outside. I've not been involved for a long time, but from just looking at the conversation, like earlier on when you were talking to Adam and how things have gone on with them, it feels very different to what it was when it first started. But there are still some parallels still about the chairman wanting to talk a little bit too much and the same subjects getting covered. But at least now, by the sounds of it, we're not getting questions around why is our left back wearing number 2, which was one that came up very early on in one of
You've
the
got 3
ones.
questions and somebody wasted it on that. Brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. Let's look at some of these comments, Terry. Let's see what we've got. So Sharman's been on. He says it's the community that will sustain Sheffield Wednesday, irrespective of the ownership or success of the club. I love it, and I've done for 35 years, and hopefully I'll do it for another 35. That's just a uplifting message there. And then from the other side, in fairness, the 1867 group was desperation as born out of frustration that nothing was happening. Now it is no more 1867. Yes, there was vitriol in both camps. Hopefully everyone is now unified, which is a massive credit to the supporters group. And this is groundbreaking, I think. I've not seen anything like this before, where all the supporters groups have got together and fair play to those people in there and come up with a statement all together. I think it's genuinely really, really impressive. And there was one here from Mad Ward that said, tonight's show's definitely opened my eyes regarding the EP, and it's given me a glimmer of hope that after all this shit us fans have put through over recent times, which is great, right? This is positive news. I'm kind of like, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see what the outcomes are and things like that. But I did have a question I was gonna ask you, because you'll give it to me straight, Terry, right?
I'll try. Go on.
Are you buying this shit that he's waiting on money from somebody else to pay? You know what I mean? Are you buying that? Like, he's owed an invoice. Come on, man.
I know. The thing is, right, I don't get conflicted around it, because, like, knowing, and I'm not, this is not ITK around the club. I'm talking like people in the who I know work in the Far East, and there's talk around banking systems shutting and that sort of thing. I'm not saying that's an excuse. It's absolutely not an excuse, because, again, I go back to the point I made earlier about this is like the 3rd time or something we've not paid the players' wages. Yes, once is a mistake, twice, well, sorry, that's not good enough, and 3rd is purely ridiculous. You make a again, you can sort of forgive once, but you can't forgive more than that. You make a contingency. So it's not like he didn't know that this is a possibility. So you try and put things in place to mitigate it happening again. But as I said, we've not done it once more, we've done it twice more. And, I still don't think that his intentions are bad. Regardless of how things look, I don't think his intentions are bad. But the fact of the matter is, we're just, as I said, rolling from one mess to another. So it's just wearing very thin, like my hairline.
Yeah, I've got a guy in Turkey sort you right out, Tex. But yeah, he's right. I mean, Helga McGurgles, somebody took really well. I told Sheffield Council I got cash flow problems because Big Dave owes me 500 quid. Still locked me up when I didn't pay my council tax. But there's an element of that, and so you're right. I don't believe that he's waiting for somebody to pay him, especially the amount of money that it is. I mean, come on, man. But I'm trying to work out the mindset, because this is where I was trying to get into, right? Is it an element of you don't give a shit? You don't think it's important? These multi-million-pound footballers, they can wait a bloody week for the money. Was it a genuine? Because it was this time of the year when he did it prior, I think, what was it, 21, 22? Was it a ploy to get a bit more interest at the financial year, leave it in the account for a bit longer, something like that? Some financial guy can put a comment on that for me. Or do you just don't think, or do you reckon it was a power play?
Oh, God, that's a question and a half. I mean, as I said, I don't think it's something that he does deliver. I don't think it's
or is he just fucking stupid, Terry? Is he just?
I mean, like if you look at the way that things have been sort of laid out, he talks about other businesses and stuff, isn't it? And regardless of whether he's got millions or whether he's got 5 pence, he's an investor. He certainly invests more than I do. But he's saying he's relying on other money from somewhere else. That's fine. If you're talking about investing in other things and you're shifting your money from one place to another, but this is not something that you can. It's not. I'm sorry, but it's not a plaything, and it's become almost like a plaything. It's like he's pushed. I'm going to skip a go this time. I've landed on do not pass go until next turn around. That's not what Sheffield Wednesday is. That's not what football is. And I don't think, despite everything and him being around for 10 years, I still don't think he gets football. That's what I think it comes down to.
But he does keep constantly referencing his advisors, and I would question whether they know football as well. You know what I mean? I'm going to go to our last few comments here. John's put an absolute corker in, saying, "Rumour has it he loves the Grand National, need the cash spare for, but luckily for the players on his each way he came in." That I completely fumbled my words on that one, but that's why he didn't pay the players. He had a bet on. And Jake's gone, stupid, maybe harsh. Does he understand that after 10 years, this isn't the way to go about things?
Exactly.
Absolutely not. But there was one thing that Ash said on this show, I want to say about 3 years ago or something like that. He went, you know, when Moira Stewart's on the telly telling you to get your tax returns in, he said, you're going to keep that in the bank, aren't you? As long as you humanly can, just to pay it right at the last minute. And is there an element of just being a belligerent knobhead with it a little bit? You know what I mean? Just to go like, that's all due. I'll pay it when I need to. But why? I don't understand why you would create all this circus that's happened this week. I don't understand why you would do that willingly. I can't understand it. So I tell you what. Let's. I'm going to give you one more question, but it's time to cover your ears, ladies and gents, because tonight has been one big one. But let's finish some last one because I want some input from you guys out there in Hot Topic. Do you know what? The hot topic here, I just want to spend 5 minutes on it, Terry. So I'm going to make you 5 minutes on this, and it's the future of our manager, Danny Roll. So get involved in the comments. Tell us, do you think he's going to see the season out, or do you think that's him kind of on the way? Is that you? What?
No, he's there behind me.
Oh, it's the saddest photo in town. There he is.
Look. Yeah, you commented on it. You like that picture?
Yeah, I did like that one. At the end of the game, there was a very forlorn Danny Roll walking around the pitch, and he's, as Joe mentioned earlier on, his comments seemed a little bit finite. I remember I did quite a. I thought I'd go fishing on the internet, not like me, and I said. The amount of times a manager has been accused of walking because of DC, loads. The amount of managers that have actually walked because of DC, none. And I might have to go back and delete some tweets if he doesn't see the season out, Terry. So you guys out there in the comments, does he stay? Does he go? Does he see the season out? Where do you sit on that, Tegs?
I think we'll see the season out. I think the comments on Saturday have made me think more than ever that he won't be here beyond the summer. Now, whether it's Southampton, whether it's Leicester, whether it's somewhere else, his comments were, he seemed quite forlorn. There is, there's a lot to be said, that can be said, around people walking across the pitch, etc., and all that. We've had it before with loan players, and even Shea Charles, at the end of his loan, and he's not sticking around.
Do you want to get that, Terry? Do you want to?
It's all right, my other half. I'll get it.
Well, tell it to me the bloody hell up. We're on the radio.
I know. I mean, what's that about? I've got a house phone. That's weird.
Is that what that was?
That's what that was. Yeah.
Now, listen, kids, if you are listening, that we used to have a house phone and we used to put it in the middle of the house. So if you were having a private conversation, you had to stand in the hallway and talk to your girlfriend when you were 14. Awful business.
Well, I mean, I did turn 50 recently, so I suppose I should have one. But no, I mean, like, as I said, we can read things into body language and that, and we do. And as I mentioned, Shea Charles's loan, and he's definitely off, and that sort of stuff. And then it didn't happen, and what have you. And I know there were more to that, but again, it's not the only time that we've seen people do something and think that something's going to happen, and then it doesn't transpire to be that way. But I do think he'll be gone in the summer. I just can't see it. I mean, I think around the Southampton stuff, they were all a really bitter taste around how it came about. Again, you talk about communication with the chairman. Maybe there was a language barrier, and I think I said that on here before. That there's potential of that. However, he just looked so forlorn on Saturday and so beat, and it seemed more than just losing in the last minute. We've lost games before under him. I mean, God, we certainly lost plenty at home this season that we should have won. But I don't know. It just felt different. It genuinely felt different on Saturday.
It really did. Now, going through the comments on this hot topic, Terry, your landline phone is getting a bit of an air in here now.
Yeah.
So Blair's gone, he's at a landline. Neon Brown has gone, I think he'll see the season out because he's an honourable guy, but his body language was unequivocally done, which I agree with the photo you've got as your backdrop now. Ash is man in our social says, answer it, Terry, it's Chansiri. And then John's got his Terry Manning club call. That's gone in. Charlotte said may not be directly because of DC, but the lack of infrastructure, payments, etc., means it's kind of indirect. I'd say it was more direct than indirect, but I get what you mean. Danny Roll will go at the end of the season anyway. Let him go now and start prepping for next season. I think a lot of people are talking about that in the same vein as what they're talking about our goalkeeping situation right now. Bethany says big man needs a word. He's everybody thinks Chansiri is now ringing you up and threatening you now.
Yeah.
Jay Blog said he's probably gone in the summer, but who in the right mind is going to come back and work for this numpty? And then Slappy's gone, who's that bloody calling at this time? I mean, it's 9:00 at night. Who's this?
I know.
Who's this?
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Jake says he'll see the season out, but much in the same way you can see in most people's faces on here tonight. He's completely fed up with what's going on at the club and talking about the same situations time and time again. He just wants to manage a football team, which is absolutely spot on. And comment of the night for me is lucky the landline didn't cut Terry's internet off, which
enjoyed that. That's good. That's good, John. Like that.
Leon Brown's gone, sorry, Terry, pocket dial. So there we are. So listen, tonight has been absolutely outstanding. I genuinely can't thank our speakers tonight. They spoke very well about their cause, and I want to do this again. We will get together in the summer and we will talk about it more. Who knows, we might have some more people talking about Sheffield Wednesday. Terry, stay on the line. Listen, you lot, thanks a lot. Don't forget to press like and subscribe. I'm going to go and get a glass of water while Simon reads out the social medias to you. See you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in, I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there for podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us.
Put on your podcast.